people here that's joined us. So thank you guys for joining. And it's been a month. It's been a month for us. We just wanted to open up with prayer first, and just open up with prayer. All right, and just join along with us here. Heavenly Father, we just come to you tonight, God, just thanking you, Lord, just thanking you for who you are, God, thanking you for being with us in the midst of our struggles, God, in the midst of our trials and our tribulations, Lord, for going before us with a banner of victory when we can't even see our way, God, for carrying us through when we feel like we have no hope and we can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, God. When we're sitting in darkness, when we are by ourselves, when we are alone, when we are afraid, God, and we don't know what tomorrow holds, God, we just thank you for being there, for being who you are, fulfilling your promises, God. We thank you for your truth. We thank you for your mercy. We thank you for your grace, God. We thank you for the people of God who have surrounded us during this time, who have come from all directions, Lord, and people we know and don't know who have expressed their care and the support for both of us, God, never seeking to divide or take sides, but to care about each of us individually and together, God, and in the hopes that we could come back together and sit here today and give this testimony, God. We thank you. And we thank you for our friends who are watching. We thank you for the prayers. We thank you for the visits. We thank you for the calls and the texts and a lot of stuff that didn't go answered because just overwhelming support, God. We thank you for that. We thank you. We just pray for everybody who's watching, Lord, and may be dealing with their own struggles and trials, whatever they may be, God, that they find hope, they find encouragement, Lord, that they renew their faith, renew their strength in you, God, if that's what they need, and that you just be there for them and show up for them in ways that you've showed up for us, God, because you're omnipotent, you're omnipresent. You can be there for them at the same time you're seeing us through, God, because that's what you're capable of doing. And we thank you for that. We thank you for seeing us right where we are, hearing us, knowing our struggles, God, and meeting us where we are and helping us through, God. We thank you for that. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right, so what we wanted to share tonight was, and I've had some friends that have reached out that aren't able to join, and I'm not concerned about numbers, about who joins, or, if you're not able to stay the whole time, that's fine. We wanted to kind of start a little bit. Some of you know me, some of you don't. Some of you know Jay, some of you don't. I am a registered nurse by trade. I've been a nurse for 30 years. Jay is a former NFL player. 16? How many years you been out of the league? 20 years?
Yeah.
20 years out of the league, playing football since he was 9. Played baseball, played basketball. Got recruited into the Major League Baseball, and right when he got recruited into the NFL, he chose football. So, which leads us to where we are today, right? Like, we don't know when, like I tell him, we don't know where the concussion happened. That was the thing that pushed him over the edge, right? We don't know if he was 10 years old and got a concussion that started down this trail. We don't know what it was, but we know where we are today. We know that God saw far ahead of where he was at that time and knew where he would be today, and knew I'd be sitting right here with him. So, God's plan is God's plan, right? So, a little bit about suspected CTE, and I'm not by any means a expert in suspected CTE. You see a lot of things on television about it. You see movies talking about it. There was a movie I watched later. I can't remember the name of it. I was really looking forward to seeing it. And then within the first 10 minutes, the kid was joking to dad about whether he had CTE. And I kind of just stopped and looked at the screen, like paused it. Like, are you serious right now? Like, this is not funny. Like, you don't joke about, cancer, right? You don't joke about other things that people have. And here it's become kind of a joke, right? Where we see players acting out on the field, doing crazy stuff. The one guy ripped his shirt off, right? Remember the one game he ripped his stuff off and left the game, and people are like, maybe he has, CTE. It's not anything to joke about. It's not funny, and it definitely is not anything funny about it living with it. Any type of traumatic brain injury, right? Whether it has resulted from football, from being in the military, there are domestic violence survivors who have traumatic brain injuries. You can get a traumatic brain injury from car accidents, boxing, soccer, right? Wrestling. There's so many things that something like this can come from. But suspected CTE, it has like 4 stages, and I'm not going to pull up a website and tell you about it, but some of the things that you look for and watch for, and this can be in your children that have played sports, contact sports, could be in yourself, right? It's like unfounded aggression, right? Like there's no reason for the aggression, just aggression. There can be paranoia, anxiety, separation. What is it called? Separation anxiety. Irrational fear, hallucinations, delusions, depression. What other things am I missing? That can be some of the feelings. Rage, uncontrollable rage, right? Where maybe the normal person in a situation wouldn't react the way they would, right? And then the person who's got like the suspected CTE or TBI really just gets enraged, right? Like there's this undercurrent of rage. Sometimes it's always there. Or undercurrent of anxiety that's always there. Irrational, right? Irrational fear of being alone, fear of the person that you're with leaving you, fear of being deserted, right? Just a lot of unfounded, and I say unfounded meaning there's no reason for them to feel the way that they feel, but these are the things that they're feeling regardless every day. Headaches, right? Like he used to tell me about the debilitating headaches that he had all the time. That he just lived with it. He lived with the headaches to the point where, he'd go to the doctor and they're like, rated on a scale of 1 to 10. He's like, it was about an 8. It was his day to day. It's what he lived with the other, the pain from playing football and the body pain that you have, from being, getting hit by a Mack truck several times a day, right? As he described it. Like, people don't understand that these players are out here, like, destroying their bodies, right? It doesn't matter how big and strong they are. Your body is still taking these hits and absorbing these hits, and your body is going to suffer from these hits. And what happens is that they tell you to get right back out there, right? It's a impressive thing if you can get injured and run right back out on that court or get back out on that field, right? It's like, wow, he's a team player. He cares about his team. Even I didn't watch the Super Bowl, but there was a commercial or something that came on with a player, and they were talking about, actually it was some of the commentators talking about this player and how he had gotten injured and the times he'd gotten injured and gone right back out there on the field. And he was just like, I got to play through the pain for my team and everything else. Pain's not going to stop me. And it's like, bruh, pain should stop you. Pain is like a message to your body that something's wrong, right? And you need to do something about it. Going back out and continue to play through the pain, through the concussion, it's going to catch up with you later. And it's going to catch up to you in a bad way. And that's just a known fact. I think, one of the things with suspected CTE is that it can only be diagnosed once the person has passed away through a brain biopsy, right? They can't do a biopsy on your brain while you're alive. So of all of the former players of any sport who have donated their brains to research, the majority of them have been found to have some level of suspected of CTE. It's a known fact. There was a number I saw the other day, and I can't remember offhand, but you can just believe that about 85% of the people whose brains have been donated had CTE, right? We can think about who was that? Who was the one player who committed suicide and killed his girlfriend? was it Aaron something? Or was that baseball? The guy that you knew who killed himself. What was his name? He was
Junior Seau.
Junior Seau, right? That Jay knew and had played with, and over the years. He had CTE, right? It's something that people look at and they just see the aftermath. They don't know the struggle and the story behind it and what happened before that person did what they did. They just think he's crazy, he was full of rage, he was mean, he was like that on the field. He was just crazy all his life. And it's like, no, that's not, because I know you talked about Junior and how he was one of the nicest guys, right? And the same thing I say about my husband, right? Nicest guy I ever met, like best man I've ever had in my life. And reminds me of my dad. He is a gentle person. Now, does he have a temper? Will he break something in half if somebody's coming at him? Yeah. I mean, he's not a wimp. He's not a weak man. But he is a kind-hearted, God-fearing, loving, protective man. And the man that suspected CTE changed his behavior into over a period of time that lasted for a month was not the man that I married. It was not my husband. It was not characteristic of him. So what led to all of this, and I don't know if you want to say anything, I don't want to do all the talking. So what this led up to is, Jay and I met 5 years ago. When we met, he told me, that he had suspected CTE. And I hadn't heard anything about CTE other than seeing that movie Concussion with Will Smith in it, right? That had the doctor, talked about the doctor who not founded it, but he's the founder of the research he did the first brain biopsy, right? To realize something was different about these players' brains. And that was what I remembered, was that movie. And then I remembered seeing on the news that guy running through that glass pane window. Mm-hmm. Who was that person? You remember? Mm-hmm. It was a former football player. I think it was in Charlotte. And it was all over the news where he had gotten angry about something and he ran straight through the glass doors of I think a bank or something, like thick glass doors, ran straight through, like enraged, straight through it, ran in there and was like yelling. It didn't even stop him, didn't slow him down, nothing. That's what I knew about CTE, right? I started looking it up. I started researching it. I started to understand the stages and some of the behaviors and some of the things that, could eventually come. I was concerned. I wasn't afraid, but I was greatly concerned about it because I was like, all right, what makes us different? What in this scenario, if he truly has this, makes us different? Like, why would I think that this could not possibly happen to us, or it can't possibly progress to these levels, right? So initially there would be some issues that he would have where, he'd have maybe a really bad headache, right? Or he'd get like overly emotional about something that was going on, or he'd have an attack of like extreme separation anxiety or fear that I was going to leave him. I want to backtrack first and say the characteristic of suspected CTE, the main characteristic is that these symptoms are things that the spouse, the girlfriend, the mother, the father, the siblings are the ones who see this in the person. They're the ones that all these behaviors are directed at. So Jay wasn't out there, beating people up, chasing people down the street, obsessing about anything, running through glass doors, okay? Everything was directed at me. And it was irrational, okay? This is the case in I'm a part of a couple suspected CTE caregiver groups. And it is always that person, whether it's their girlfriend, it's their mother. There was a mother on the last call I was on whose 22-year-old son has such, traumatic brain injury that he has to live in a facility for the rest of his life. He can't, even live with the family because of his injury and basically his behavior, right? Violent, aggressive, threatening, hostile, whatever. We have a thing with Coke, and we can do it, what is it called, an endorsement? We are happy to be sponsored by Coke.
Coca-Cola.
We're not, but if Coke wants to sponsor us, we have a thing that Jay has to open it. I have to drink out of it. I don't care what's going on, even when I'm mad at him. He comes to me and wants me to drink the first drink of Coke. So that's just a thing that we do.
Makes it sweeter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if I'm drinking a glass of wine. I have to drink Coke. So it's something that is directed at that spouse. The irrational aggression sometimes, and Jay is not physically violent. I want to, he's never put his hands on me, hit me, punched me, pushed me, nothing. But it happens with suspected CTE, domestic violence. It can be, there's paranoia, there's hallucinations, there's that extreme separation anxiety that happens, hearing voices, things like that, right? And so we'll get back to kind of how all that transpired with us. So it started with Jay where, like I said, he was having a lot of headaches. He would have times where we would get into an argument, and it wouldn't, couldn't just be a normal argument about anything. And it would turn into like this knockdown, drag out, we're screaming our heads off at each other type argument. And it's just totally irrational. And it's like all this stuff starts coming out. He'll start saying all these things that have nothing to do with the argument we're having, right? And then he's just extremely angry, maybe walking around talking to himself, whatever, right? And then at the end of that, he would eventually fall asleep. And sometimes he'd stay asleep for a day. Sometimes he'd stay asleep for like 2 days. And I mean, go upstairs in our guest room and he'd be knocked out. And I would come in and give him something to eat. He might get up and take a shower or something like that, but he would just stay in that room. And if he was awake, he would stay in the room and he'd be in the dark, right? Until he came out. When he would come out, he wouldn't remember anything that had happened with that episode. He didn't remember anything that he had said, done. He didn't remember. Do you have yours on live too? Because this. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's weird. I'm seeing myself twice. He wouldn't remember anything that had gone on. Like he would just have a total blank spot for the past few days that had happened. He'd say, last thing I remember was this. And now I'm talking to him and it's 2 days later. So in order to kind of explain to him what had gone on over those past couple days, I used to say, all right, let me tell you about the movie that we both watched that you starred in, but you don't remember. That's what I used to say to him. And we would then start talking about kind of like the things that he, the things that had happened, right? We'd start talking about what was said and what was done and all this other stuff. And over time, we realized that wasn't helping anything, right? It wasn't helping us to keep rehashing everything that he had done and said, right? Because it was already traumatizing to me. I didn't feel like we needed to further traumatize him by keep talking about what he had done and what he had said, right? Eventually, over time, it came to where there was a time we were down in South Carolina, maybe I'd say maybe 2.5 years ago. We were down there for something, and we were leaving, and we ended up in this huge argument. And it was so bad that I was like, okay, if he stops to use the bathroom, I'm taking off and leaving him right here. And he's going to have to find a ride home because I'm not riding another 5 hours in this car with this man. I was literally ready to leave him on the road. Like, I was going to be like, and just keep on rolling all the way to North Carolina.
That is so wrong.
Hey.
That's so wrong.
I was going to ditch him right there.
That is so wrong.
But he stayed in the car and we were going at it back and forth. He's hurling insults. I'm hurling insults. Cause you know me, I ain't going to just like take it on the chin. And so he's got a smart mouth. I got a smart mouth. We're going at it. Right. Eventually he falls asleep. We get home. He wakes up. I mean, he's just got attitude. Just, wakes up. He comes in the house, goes up to bed. Eventually, and when he wakes up, and comes out of it on Sunday. He doesn't remember anything. He tells me the last thing he remembered is we were leaving South Carolina. We were talking about stopping at somebody's house, and now he woke up and he's upstairs and he doesn't know how he got there. That's what we would deal with often. So in the midst of this, while we're having all these conflicts, I'm looking at him and I can tell there's something different. I can tell his eyes don't look right. His body language doesn't look right. His demeanor, his whole presence doesn't look right. And I know there's something wrong, right? There's times where I would sense something was wrong from the time I maybe came downstairs in the morning, and I'd say, "You okay?" And he'd be like, "Yeah, babe, I'm fine. Why?" And I'm like, okay. And then I would notice something, or he'd say something smart, or he would mumble something under his breath. "You sure you okay?" And I would ask him to the point where it would get annoying to him, right? "Babe, I'm not having an episode. Unless you think I'm not having an episode, I'm fine." Okay. By that night, I promise you, all Hades will have broken loose, and he was having an episode. There were times where he would go and he would isolate himself in the garage, and I would just know he's out there in the dark. He's quiet. He's not coming around me. He is probably trying. He's probably not feeling right, and he's probably just trying to stay away from me, right? And so I would just cook, bring him a plate. I always said it was like Miss Silly sliding that breakfast plate to Mister on Color Purple. You know, slide it in and back up and think, it's going. That empty plate's probably going to hit the wall when he's done. Be like, "You want some food? You want something to eat? Here you go." And he'd be like, "Thanks," and he'd eat it and whatever. Then it progressed to where Jay explained to me that we would be having these arguments, and the way he felt was like he was kind of trapped inside watching, and he couldn't do anything about it. He's like, "I can see you. I can hear you, Staci. I can see my arms and stuff moving in my hands, but I don't know what I'm saying to you. But I know that it's got to be something bad because of the way you're responding, the way you're acting. But I can't stop myself." And that was crazy, right? That was like, wow. Like, so you're in there kind of like, "Man, what are you doing?" And you can't do anything to stop it. And it's just going sideways, right? Real quick. And the next thing you know, I'm running out the house. I'm running up into a room and barricading myself in there, or shutting the door and locking it and not coming out till the next day. And this is what it transpired to the point where, we had seen our primary care doctor, who is a wonderful sports medicine doctor. And me being a nurse, I kind of brought her some research and brought her some information and was like, "Let's try this, let's try whatever." And tried a couple medications. Very just like, here's like Wellbutrin. I'll say one of them was Wellbutrin, and then his Xanax for anti-anxiety. So for a long time, those are the only two medications he was on. He would still have these episodes where I can kind of time them. I would know it's going to happen every 3 months, or it's now going to happen every 6 weeks. Okay, now it's going to happen every month. Now it seems to be happening twice a month. This is how I was kind of tracking things over this period of time. What led me to finally seek out a neuropsychiatrist. And if anybody's on here has got a child, family member, husband, cousin, friend, somebody who has any of these behaviors we're talking about, who you suspect have any type of traumatic brain injury, you definitely need to be seeking out a neuropsychiatrist, okay? Somebody who can look at these behaviors and prescribe the correct medication for the individual. Now, me being a nurse, having actually been an administrator in one of the largest neuro practices on the East Coast, I had never heard of neuropsychiatry. And when I think back, I kind of remember seeing that on one of the doctor's doors, but I didn't know what it was because I didn't need to know what it was. That wasn't the department that I was over per se, right? So I'm on these CTE support groups and I'm listening to people's stories, and I'm thinking, wow, I'm blessed because at least my husband will take medication. At least he'll do things. There's people on those calls who faces are hidden, they're crying. They're just coming there, like have zero feelings of hope in their life. They're in domestic violence situations. Their spouse has maybe moved out, living in a hotel. They're separated, they're divorced. Some of them, their spouse is no longer with us because of like suicide. They have children with this stuff. And this one woman kept talking about neuropsych. And once we got them and got him on the medication and got him stabilized. And finally, after about the third time hearing it, I was like, all right. I reached out to the Concussion Legacy Foundation. Another thing you should take down if you have anything that if you're wanting support, resources, information, guidance to where you can find specialists, therapists, anything, you want a support group, Concussion Legacy Foundation, okay? Lifesaver for us. And I reached out to them, was like, hey, I'm looking for a neuropsychiatrist in our area who, like, I could have found one online, right? But I wanted somebody who knew about brain injury, CTE type stuff. And they led us to Dr. Gualtieri at NC Neuropsychiatry. Wonderful man. If anybody was following my post, he's the man who prayed with me last week, who, when I broke down in his office, just said, give me your hand, and then started praying. And I'm talking about praying, strong prayer for me, for my husband, and for himself, to be able to guide us and help us. And doing that, just the first visit with Dr. Gualtieri, he changed some of his medications. He weaned him off the Wellbutrin, started him on some other medications, right? So now he's on these other medications. That must have been maybe 3 months ago, I think. 2 months ago. He's on these other medications, and we're waiting because it takes a little time for these medications to kick in, and we're waiting to see, how everything's going to go. In the meantime, he's still having episodes. And, Dr. Gualtieri had said, hey, if anything happens, call me immediately, right? But I didn't think it was like call him immediately if he's still having episodes. I was like, if he gets worse, I'll call him, right? So it came to the point where what led us to Dr. Gualtieri, too, what led me to actually do it, was Jay had begun to get paranoid. He was hearing voices, having auditory hallucinations, which means you're hearing voices, right? He was hearing voices through our security system, through my phone, through my work computer. Anytime I was like this, he thought I had a person on the phone that was controlling me and giving me orders and, telling me to either do my nails or not, put makeup on or not, drink my coffee or not. Used to.
I did.
I mean, he was like, used to come downstairs and drink your coffee every morning. You don't even do that anymore. And that fool told you to stop drinking. He didn't say fool, though. Told you to stop drinking that coffee. That you used to always drink your coffee. And he's like, what happened to your nails? Why'd you stop doing your nails? And he said a lot of things other than that to me about what I was and was not doing, right? And I'm like, what about me makes you think anybody is telling me what to do and controlling me? Like, you're in your right mind, you should know that is not going to happen. But he wasn't in his right mind, right? He was, I was under surveillance is the best way I was literally under surveillance. Like, he was watching me through the cameras and recording stuff and then thinking he was hearing stuff and seeing things. I posted the one video that day online, and it was Jay walking back and forth talking about where was he at, whatever. That's what he was talking about. He was talking about that voice. He thought that but you felt the voice, I think, was in the house. Like, the guy was actually in here at that time telling me, turn off the light, do this, stop talking about that, whatever. That's what he would do. And I told everybody that was lightweight, like, meaning that was a semi-calm episode, because it could be 10 times worse than that, right? Where he's following me around from room to room. He's coming back up and down the steps, back to say something. Let me ask you this. Can you just tell me his name? Tell me his name. That's all I want. Constant confrontation. No matter what I was doing, no matter if I was talking, silent, reading my Bible, playing Candy Crush on my phone, watching a movie, didn't matter. It was constant. And it would be at night too. Like, if I got up out of the bed to do something or picked my phone up, you don't have to hide. You want to text your boyfriend. You don't have to turn away. You don't have to get out of bed, right? Well, he doesn't remember some of it, but it was like that. Okay, so once it got to that point, then I was like, okay, this is a whole new level of stuff. And I think this lasted a year and a half, right? A year. It started last May, you said.
Yeah, started in May.
So that's what really led me, like, okay, we need to see a doctor. So went there, and he put him on the medications, and we ended up going to California, right? We had that trip to California, and I'm telling you guys, there's days where it just became the norm that he would make these comments, these offsides comments to me about my boyfriend or whatever in the middle of just sitting there having a good day, and he'd say something and I'm like, what? And he'd be like, no, babe, don't forget I said that. I didn't even know I said it. Never mind, just forget I said anything. And then 10 minutes later, he'd say something else. And then I start getting irritated. And the next thing you know, we're in an argument, right? Because it just came to the point where I felt like I was constantly under assault. Like I was under mental assault. I was under this emotional assault. I was under spiritual assault. He started with the, you're ungodly and what kind of wife are you and all this other kind of stuff. And I'm like, for me, I'm like, that's not going to affect me because I'm firm in my foundation with who I am in Christ. So that wasn't going to affect me. And I knew it was a satanic assault. And I started calling it the CTE demon because it was very demonic, the things that he would say to me. I felt like, when somebody really wants to destroy you or cut you to the core, they're going to attack you with the things that they know you are ashamed about, you have not told anybody else about, or the things that really have hurt you in the past. Those are the things that they're going to do. And that's what that CTE demon did, right? So we go to California and had a wonderful time in California. It was a wonderful time. I mean, we were out there for something, related to the CTE research and all this other stuff. And we got back and like 2 days later, all Hades broke loose. And it lasted for a month straight. We can say, what was the trigger? People say, what is the trigger? And I was talking to somebody, a friend of his came by yesterday who was in the NFL in the past and played with him in NFL Europe. And we started talking about that because he knows that he's got some issues himself, some brain issues that he's been putting off doing anything about, and I told him that, wait, I forgot my train of thought. What was I talking about? Bear with me because I have my little brain farts too. But he was talking about how, kind of coming to realization that he needed to get some help as well and do something about what's going on with him and see a doctor, right? And with Jay, it was kind of like when we first met, he told me about it, but he really didn't want to talk about it, right? He really didn't want to claim it. He didn't want to believe this thing was going to affect him in the way that it has affected other people, right? So we would talk about it and it was more like, yeah, but that's not what's happening with me. No, I don't feel like that, and it was a lot of kind of denial, which is a part of the whole stigma of it, right? You're not going to want to just own that thing, right? And then coming from our background, especially, African Americans, they'll be like, don't you claim that. I talked about that on a post before about me having diabetes and high blood pressure. Don't you claim that? I'm like, I'm claiming it, I'm naming it, and I'm treating it. Because I ain't trying to die from it. So you need to claim it and name it and treat it and call it what it is. Whatever that diagnosis, if you want to call it CTE, suspected CTE, TBI, concussion syndrome, got my bell rung too many times, whatever you want to call it, if those symptoms are happening to you, you need to do something about it because it is not only affecting you, it is affecting your family, it is affecting your spouse. I thought about something today and I said, for me, it's caregiver / victim, right? For him, it is sufferer / victim. We are both victims of suspected CTE, right? He didn't choose to have this. He doesn't want to have it. I didn't choose to marry somebody. I did, I chose to marry him, but I didn't go, ooh, yeah, CTE. You got that too? Come on, down the aisle. I told a friend of his, I said, it was like, I didn't realize, two people were walking down the aisle when he was walking towards me, because that's what it looks like. It looks like and feels like I'm talking to an entirely different person who is not my husband. Like, he is in his body. He has his voice. And I'm looking in his eyes, and that ain't him. And that's a scary thing. Any of you have ever dealt with anybody who's had any kind of brain injury or dementia, Alzheimer's, when they don't recognize you anymore, except he knew who I was, but he didn't really know who I was. right? I was his enemy. I turned from his wife and his best friend, his caregiver, to his enemy, who was trying to cheat on him with this voice, right? Who was betraying him, who every time I picked up my phone was checking in at 1 o'clock. No, 11, 1, 3, 5, and 7. Every day I was checking in on the odd numbers, which is significant because he has a degree in finance. He's a numbers person. He thinks in numbers a lot. So that thing messed with his head into thinking on every 2 hours on the hour, she's checking in. So we came home from somewhere and just happened to be walking in the house at 7 o'clock. Trust me, I was like, oh crap. If I went upstairs, go check in with your boyfriend. I always look at the time like, oh, let me not do anything on the odd hour because he's don't pick up your phone, nothing, because he's going to think I'm checking in with this thing. So when we got back from California, the behaviors worsened, the paranoia worsened. He got more like aggressive towards me, like not putting his hands on me, but he might snatch the phone out of my hand or something, right? If I came in the house and something happened, I barricaded myself in the bathroom, he busting in the bathroom, right? I'm up there in the bedroom, with the couch against the door, like that wasn't going to stop him. Did I think at all the couch was going to stop Jay Haygood from getting in there? Like he'd have busted the door down and went airborne over that couch. So, but for me, it was like, at least I knew if he tried to get in there, I would hear the couch move, right? It was like my second line of defense to hear if he was coming in so I could have some peace and go to sleep. It wasn't that I thought he was going to come in and hurt me. It was because I thought that I knew he was going to come in and come at me and be in my face and say stuff and accuse me. So instead he would just stand outside the door and do it. And go up and down the hall, up and down the hall, up and down the stairs. I'm going to leave you alone. No, I'm going to leave you alone. Next thing you know, down the hall. Or he'd creep down the hall and he'd stand there. Or he would hide around the corner and stuff like that. So this paranoia, delusion, separation anxiety. If I were to send Jay to the store at one point and be like, babe, go get some tomatoes. I'm making spaghetti or something. He thought I was trying to get rid of him, trying to get out the house so I can communicate with this thing. And he would, there was times he left his phone or a recording device behind so he could catch me. So this is the level that it got to. And what happened in this past, 2 weeks now? Whenever the whole, everything happened where I had called the police over here 3 times I'd called the police because I called them and I said, my husband's having a mental health crisis. I'm barricading myself in rooms. I'm leaving the house. I was running out the house. I'd be sitting there just having a glass of wine. Literally, I'm very introverted. People know you called me, I don't answer, right? I don't like talking on the phone. And when I'm around people, if I'm around a whole bunch of people, I'm probably going to come home and stay in the house for 4 days. That's just me. I need to recharge. So I'm sitting here chilling because I work from home, get done with my work day. I'm watching TV. I got my glass of wine. I just want to watch TV. Usually Jay's laying on the couch, doing his thing. And he started with the tormenting. And I call it, and it was tormenting and terrorizing, right? To the point where finally I'm like, why am I sitting here? I don't have to sit here. I can leave. Jump up and I go straight out the house. I don't come back for sometimes 3 hours, sometimes 6, sometimes 8. This week, I left out of the house so many times that week. The last time I ran out the house and the videos that were posted on my page was me running out the house. Those were the 2 times I had run out the house that day. And it was like the last time I ran out, the last time I had packed some bags, which I had already told my family and friends. I'm talking about, I have a bag packed. I didn't have a bag packed. That night I had a bag packed. One of my oldest daughter who was living here was like, you need to pack a bag. You need to leave. And I was like, all right. And I got off the phone and I sat right back there and I didn't do anything. And then I picked up my phone because he wasn't here. He had left to the ER again. They had discharged him again. And he was on his way back. And I could see he was about 10 minutes away. And God said, go pack that bag right now. Before I could even hear him say it, I was up out of that chair, packing my bag upstairs. And came downstairs. And when Jay came home, he started in again. He's like, I'm going to leave you alone. I'm not even going to say nothing to you. Because he walked into the living room and he was like, walked towards me, and I kind of backed up into the corner. He's like, I'm not going to touch you. I'm not going to touch you. What are you, whatever, and he was taunting and tormenting. And then I just I had already put my key down my shirt. I had my purse in the car. I had everything in the car, which I was like, I don't usually leave my purse out there. I'm like, I'm not going to leave my purse in there overnight. And I felt like I'm just going to leave it out there because we'll have to leave tomorrow, whatever. But I just got up, ran out the house in my socks, jumped in the car, and I did not come back here till the next day. Now, I could have stayed in a hotel. I could have went to a friend's house, any of that. A week before that, I had left and went to our other house in Pennsylvania. I drove 9 hours in the middle of the day. I was working. He was still, like I said, in this, probably at that time, 2-week-long episode. I was trying to work, and he had never bothered me when I was working, like literally on a Zoom, on a meeting, a video meeting. And I just texted my boss, I got to go. I need the rest of the day off. Shut the computer, ran upstairs and packed. He was bothering me then. And then I left and I drove 9 hours straight to our house in Pennsylvania where it was -3 degrees when I got there. So adjusting his medications while I was gone, talking to his doctor. I had my daughter back here increasing dosages of stuff and putting it in his pill box. They're like, he should come out of it in about a day or two. He didn't. I'm finally coming home 6 days later. He should come out of it, increase it to this. No. I got home and that's when all this stuff started. I had to start calling the police. And so that last night that I left and I went and sat in a parking lot, Sheetz parking lot in my truck. And I was like, I'm in dirty clothes because I was literally about to go and take a shower and get ready to go to bed. And now I'm in these dirty clothes. I had shoes because I had packed my bag, right? I had packed a bag that I could have stayed gone 2 weeks if I needed to. And I went to the YMCA and took a shower. And came home, and he was supposed to be leaving again for the last time. He was supposed to be leaving to go check himself in. I had communicated with him to a friend, you need to check yourself into a psychiatric hospital. Don't go back to Wake Med. Don't go back to the ER because they're not going to admit you. Make sure he checks into a psychiatric facility, right? You go there and you tell them, planning on hurting myself, whatever, because that was the night that he had posted online that he was going to end it all. And he was texting people to that effect. That's when I posted on my page what was going on, because I was like, all right, you didn't put it out there. I don't want people thinking he's out there alone. This just came out of nowhere. This is what's going on. He is not in his right mind, right? So I got home. He left. I started coming in the house. He came back, and all Hades broke loose. Eventually, that day, I ended up getting him a hotel room that night. He made his way to the hotel somehow, and we met the next day at his neuropsychiatrist at the office, which would have been, what day is this? Thursday? Was that Monday morning? When did you go? Thursday. That was last Thursday. So this is a week ago. He gets to the neuropsych office. I went separately. We went in 2 separate cars. He gets to the neuropsych office, and it took him an hour. Like, thank the Lord. This doctor is so patient. He knows, who he's dealing with, that the people may not show up on time. It didn't matter what time you get there. You're going to see him. So an hour after the appointment, Jay finds his way over there. Okay. I had went outside. I saw his charger go flying by on a road above. I'm like, it's over here. And I'm trying to call. His phone's not working. He makes it there. Even in the waiting room, he is coming up on me, and he's trying to, ask me questions and trying to talk to me and talking about me texting him. Go ahead and text your boyfriend and tell him whatever. In the waiting room with people in there, right? And I don't care because I'm like, this is the kind of office we're in. These people probably see worse, right? They bring us back, put us in 2 separate rooms. The doctor's, goes to talk to Jay and comes into me, and he's like, so what do you want to see? Like, what do you know? I forget how he put it. And I said, well, he needs to go to the psych hospital. He's like, yeah, he needs to be hospitalized. I was like, yeah, he does. And so he prescribed a couple new medications, and then said this is where they called over to the facility and said they have a bed for him. And we just needed to go over there. And he goes separately. He goes first. Because I'm like, I'm not riding with him. I was like, not even wherever this place, I'm not riding with him in that car. And it'll pop off. So, because even in the office, at one point he wanted to talk to me. They put us in the same room together. And that ended with about 3 of them having to come in that room to make sure everything was okay, because we were going off in there. It wasn't going to happen. This is the same thing I'm hearing at home. I don't want to hear this, right? So and that's when I started crying, and the doctor came over and prayed with me, right? And so he went to the facility. I get over there, and he's sitting there with all his paperwork to check in, and I'm always the one who does all that for him. So I just said, do you want me to do that? And I did, and I filled out all his stuff. They ended up keeping him and starting him on the medication, gave him a couple other things for anxiety, some therapy, some counseling in there and stuff like that. And then at one point they called me and was like, he wants to know, like, what's the discharge plan? When he's done with this, can he come home? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know what that looks like. Like, he can come home if I can feel safe. I said, when I can feel safe, when God tells me it's time for him to come home, he can come home. And that's when I feel safe, when I'm able to feel safe, right? And so she understood and everything. And then, and I didn't go see him. And you were in there, 5 days? Mm-hmm. I didn't go see him or anything. I didn't even talk to you until 2 or 3 days after, before I would talk. He was texting me from there because they let him keep the phone with them. And
remember I talked to you and I stopped texting.
Yeah, right. But I'm saying you had the phone. Like, they didn't take the phone from you, so they have their phones and stuff, right? But at first you were, texting a little bit and calling it a couple times, and then eventually he was like, "I'm not going to call you. I'm not going to text you. I'm going to wait until you're ready to talk." And when he actually did that, because I was kind of like, "Yeah, right. I've heard this 10,000 times in the past 2 weeks." That you're going to leave me alone. I'm going to leave you alone. I'm going to leave you alone. And he actually did. And when the next day came and he didn't start blowing me up first thing in the morning, I was like, something's working. Some medicine then kicked in, like something is working, because this is not, like, that's the normal Jay right there, right? Like, that's not, I was like, something is working. And all this time I'm praying. I'm trusting God. I'm sitting still. I had the police when they came to the house. Each time they said, from the first time they said, you need to go get a domestic violence restraining order. You need to have him committed, and you need to go file for divorce ex parte. That's the very first night is what they said. Divorce ex parte means, with the domestic violence order and all of that, that means I would have been granted a divorce very quickly without him having to be there. I was like, okay, I'm shell shocked. I hadn't slept for 2.5 days after that first night that they came. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go do that. I didn't go do it. Next day, I was exhausted. I still hadn't slept. I'm going to go do it. Ended up having to call the police again twice that day. Each time. By the last time they came, we were already here. Like, this is like the 3rd time, and you said you were going to do such and such, right? One of the police officers one time was very, like, he was like, this sounds like a marriage problem. He was a little young dude. Now, my dad was a cop. And I said, this is not a marriage problem. I said, this is a brain injury problem. I said, we don't have any marriage problems. I said, we have a beautiful marriage. I was like, this has nothing to do with our marriage or our relationship. This is a mental health crisis. I was like, would you have said that to a domestic violence victim if I had come out all bloodied and bruised and battered? Would you have said this is a marriage problem? And he was like, no. And I was like, well, you shouldn't say it now. And I was going off. Like, I started to, like, I got the seeing red, and all I saw was him, and I was about to just like drill him into the ground with my words, and I had to back off. Not that I was afraid that I was gonna like let him have it. Like, how old are you? How old are you even? Like, you have 0 life experience. Like, my father was a police officer, and you have 0 life experience, and you need to shut your mouth. Eventually, with what I was saying to him, he shut his mouth, because I was like, you don't need to talk. Because what you're saying does not make any sense. Like, don't ever say that to anybody again. And the other police officer was real cool. They were both kind of young guys and everything. But this is the things they were telling me to do, right? And I heard it every time. And by the final time that I finally was in the car to go down to have him committed, because I could have had him committed, right? When he made that threat online about hurting himself, I could have went and had him involuntary committed for 3 days. But I wanted him to get help voluntarily. And each time that I said I was going to do it, Everything in me, in my mind, thought I was going to, and there was not a single cell in my body that felt like I was going to get up and go nowhere. God was like, you ain't going nowhere. Be still. It's not for you to do. And I just sat there in my chair. I just sat there. Like, I'm not doing it. And I was like, I don't care how stupid I may look to somebody. I don't care what the police have to think about it, the neighbors, whatever. I don't care. I'm not doing it. And lo and behold, he ended up voluntarily checking himself in and staying there for 5 days and getting stabilized, praise God, on this medication that he's on. So that final day when they called and they're like, he's ready to be released. You want him to come home today or tomorrow? I was like, he can come today. I said, it doesn't matter today or tomorrow. I said, I'm fine with him coming home because I can tell by talking to him without even laying eyes on him that he is back to himself. He's not the same person that left here, right? And when Jay came home, it was like he walked in and he was like, can I have a hug? And I was like, he was like, okay. I was like, dude, we haven't touched each other in a month. Yeah. Not a hug, not a kiss.
You got to remember that wasn't me, though. So
right, I know that. But that's what he says. He says it wasn't him, but I'm like, but it was you.
I know. But
right? I know it wasn't that. It wasn't this Jay.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is this Jay didn't remember all
right.
that.
Like, Jay had no clue. Jay literally did not remember the past month. He didn't remember. What did you say from when we got home from California? What was the last thing you remembered?
Hearing that voice and then going to Pennsylvania. I don't even remember Pennsylvania, really.
So you remember hearing the voice and me going to Pennsylvania, and I think I left for Pennsylvania on the 7th or 6th of January.
Oh, well then, yeah. Well, I was gone then.
So Jay has no memory of the past over month, you guys.
Right at a month. It's the 7th. It's the 13th today. Boy,
I have it in my phone when I went there.
I was riding on that water. I was going off that water. Good gracious.
Lord have mercy. I'm trying to see. Wait a minute. Let me see, you guys. I want to see because I'm trying to remember what day, because I know we changed one of your medications on that day.
It couldn't have been the 7th because that's when we went to Cali.
It was.
We got back from Cali on the 11th, so it had to be the 20-something. We were here for a week.
You're right. I'm sorry. Yeah, I went to Cali. I went to Pennsylvania on the 21st.
Yeah.
And I came back on the 26th.
Yeah, so it's only been 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
So he doesn't remember 3 weeks of his life. Okay, and during that 3 weeks, when I was in Pennsylvania, phone calls, text messages, social media. He was posting stuff on social media. He was that only I and him could apparently see. Sometimes other people could see it because somebody would text me and be like, "You might want to look and see what Jay put on your page just now, right?" Because it was crazy.
Everybody got the Facebook police and they.
Yeah, but it was like Jay is posting online that he hadn't heard from you and he doesn't know where you are. You might want to check. You're like, it was like, oh crap. So he was like, it was constant, the phone ringing. I'm talking about, I just sit there like this. Hang up, hang up, hang up, hang up. I just sat there like this with him calling, and finally I would block him. And then he'd get mad that I blocked him because now I'm up there with this dude. He thinks I'm up there in this -3-degree freezing house with this dude. And I'm like, bruh, I'm sitting here like colder than I've ever been in my life in this old 100-year-old house with my guns. I am not up here to have a vacation. So he doesn't remember that. And then you talk about when you woke up in the hospital, when you woke up in this mental health facility.
So all the stuff. First of all, let me start off by saying I want to thank everybody, all my friends, family, even people that on Staci's side, even cats that I didn't even know that all this was going on. Thank you for all the prayers, the moral support. There's a lot of special people out there, and they know who they are that was there, man. I'm going to tell you something. I heard some people cry that I thought I would never hear cry, so it really changed, you know what I'm saying, this situation. But I didn't. Like Staci said, though, that Friday morning, right at lunchtime, what was crazy was that I was sitting on the edge obviously I was sitting on the edge of the bed, and I was sitting on the edge of the bed, and I looked around, and I was like, well, I know I ain't in jail with all this nice stuff. Well, so then I looked over, then I seen the pamphlet sitting on the counter, and that's when I realized I was inside a facility. But at that point, that's when my brain got maintained. So after that point, I turned back into the old Jay Haygood. You know, old Jay Haygood then. That's what you get now. So, but yeah, it was, I don't remember nothing at all. I mean, that's sad. But at the same time, I apologize to my wife because I love her so dearly, you know what I'm saying? And you know, and I now, since the balancing of my brain, it lets me know how much I love her even more for sticking by me. You know what I'm saying? Like, she didn't have to stand by me during this situation. I also applaud her for making me do this on my own, because, you know, a lot of times people look for somebody to help them, somebody to call in the time of crisis. Well, I created this crisis from playing football, so I had to do it myself. But again, I want to thank everybody and for all the prayers and phone calls, text messages. Because I'm going to tell you something, having this TB, I suspected CTE is very, very lonely mentally for the actual person that has the injury. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of times I can't really go to my wife and tell her things that are going on. I can't really go to friends because they're not going to understand. The only people that understand is that they have suspected CTE as well. So that's the only sad part of it. It's a lonely injury. And I'm not the only person on this live that has complications, because I talk to you. It's already. So, you know, but I encourage everybody to get help, because for me, the medication I'm on, I'm back to the Virginia Tech J. You know what I'm saying? I'm happy, I'm smiling, I do my thing, I ain't worried about nothing. At the end of the day, God got me. So between God and this medicine, I'm back to the old Jay, which is good, nice and quiet and smiley. So
yeah, and it's something, like I told him, you know, I appreciate the apologies, but I don't. It's almost like I don't need the apology, because I know it wasn't him, right? It's not like it's something that he did that he wanted to do. That he didn't want to treat me that way. He didn't want to talk to me that way. Like, I know the man that I know would never say the things to me that he said to me when he was not in his right mind. And that was the difference for me, because I've been in abusive relationships before. Jay has been in abusive relationships before. This was a scenario where I had to look at it and go, this verbal and emotional abuse is not coming from him. It's coming from his brain injury. And where everybody, you know, they're all, not everybody, but, you know, the police doing their job. This is what you need to do. Here's the steps you need to take. I talked to my friend, Kima, who's watching, not Kima, I'm sorry, but hey, Kima. I talked to a good friend of mine who's a nurse practitioner. And we were talking because she was just came out of an extremely abusive relationship. And one thing she reminded me was, she was like, sis, I need you to be patient, because you need to wait and see if he gets stabilized. Because this is a brain injury you're dealing with. And I hadn't really thought about that at the moment. I hadn't really thought about, like, the patience of waiting to see, right? Like, I wanted him to go where he was going, but was I willing to, you know what I'm saying? It was like he wasn't there yet, for one thing, so I didn't even know if he was going to get there. It was just back and forth to the ER and then letting him go home, even though he had said he was going to hurt himself. Excuse me. Which they only kept him overnight because I told him I'd sue them if they let him go. And she said that, and it just all of a sudden clicked, and I was like, you know, God brings to you what you need at the moment that you need it, the clarity and the revelation, if you will just sit and be still and be quiet and wait, have patience. And when she said that, that was the turning point for me, where I said, I have to wait to see if he gets stabilized on his medicine, right? And to fight that fight of the medication fight, and let's treat the symptoms, because there's no cure for suspected CTE, because it is
boy, do these meds work.
It's a degenerative disease where the brain is deteriorating, right? So of course you're gonna have behavior changes, but even with this medication, we can't just all of a sudden rest on our laurels and say, all right, we're good. No, it's a constant watching day to day to see what needs to be increased, what needs to be decreased, what needs to be discontinued, what is not working, right? Or what needs to be added in. So it's something where he's stabilized right now. Is he still sometimes hearing things? Yes. Do I recognize it and call it out? Yes. And he'll be like, you're right. I did hear it, but this is what I did because I heard it. Right. And then it's like, all right, well, next time you hear it, maybe pick up the Bible and just start reading scripture out loud and don't speak to the voice. Right. Like, what things can we do, to work through this thing day by day? Because this is not even, we used to say one day at a time, because every night we pray, Jay, even when I'm mad at him, gets down at the side of the bed, grabs my hand and prays. And we used to say one day at a time. And then it was like, it became 1 day, 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 day. Now it's like 1 millisecond at a time, 1 second at a time.
One speed of light at a time.
one light speed instance at a time. Like, you can't be worrying about tomorrow. You can't be worrying about what we're going to wake up like tomorrow, right? It's like, thank God for today. Thank God that there was no episode, no confrontation today. Thank God I wasn't running out the house today, right? Because that's how quick it changed for us when we came back from California. That's how quick it changed. And I could not believe it. I literally was shell-shocked. Like, what is happening?
We need to go back out to Cali. Let's come back and start.
Apparently, we need to go back to California, right? Going back to Cali. Cali. Going back to Cali. Yo, I don't think so. So, we do love California, though. But just kind of wanted to talk about that stuff. And what you can do. Number one, if you are watching this and you have any of these issues that Jay has experienced, or anything like you're hearing voices nobody else hears, you're speaking, but nobody else hears you speak. There were times Jay thought he said something, and we'd all be sitting here like, no, you didn't say anything. He's like, I did. I just said so and so. We're like, no.
Especially the girls, they would.
Yeah, me and the kids, me and the girls would be like, and this was happening all the time to me. And one day we were sitting here, Olivia, her boyfriend, and I think Lydia might have been here, and me. And we were all downstairs, and Jay came in, and they're like, hey, Mr. J, whatever, and hey, Pops. And I think he just like walked by and didn't say anything. And I was like, cooking or something. And he was going, so I said, Jay, everybody said hey. He's like, I said hey. And he was annoyed. He's like, I said hello to everybody. I was like, no, you didn't. He's like, yes, I did. And I'm like, oh, I got backup. Hey, did anybody else in here hear Jay just say anything?
Yeah, because David said it quick. He said,
He's like, no, Mr. Jay, I'm sorry. You didn't say anything. I was like, told you.
David, was you waiting to pounce? He's like, you gotta open it. He's like,
I was like, so if you're having any of those things, like, don't be embarrassed or ashamed to go get help. That's what medicine is for. We as Christians, especially, it's like, keep it to yourself. Don't tell nobody. Just pray, whatever. Well, you know what? God created medicine. I'm a nurse. Every bit of knowledge we have, whether it's science, medicine, politics, whatever it is, everything, every pillar of society was created by God, and it is in his control. And he can work through medicine to help you. He can work through nurses and doctors and therapists and counselors and neuropsychiatrists to help you. That's what they are there for. Get help. Because you are suffering and your family is suffering. Why put them through it? Do you want you want your wife to experience the things that I'm telling you I went through? And there's something you could do about it so she doesn't have to experience that, or it doesn't have to be as bad? Like, do you want that for your spouse? Is your ego so big that you're willing to let your spouse suffer because you don't want to go get help? Because you're ashamed or you're embarrassed? I don't care if you're using the NFL. I don't care if it was freaking WWE, WWF. I don't care if it's freaking, what is it, FIFA, the soccer thing? Whatever it is. I don't care what it is. FIFA, fo, fum. I don't care. Whatever it was that you were in, you need to get help. Which leads me to the NF of L. No, they do nothing to help these men.
It stands for not for long.
Yeah, not for long. Yeah, NFL stands for not for long. I mean, you're going to last long, and neither is your brain or your body if you stay too long in something like that. It's not the NFL's fault. Like, we're not saying the NFL, like these guys come out as only the NFL. It's a lifetime of whatever they've been doing, whatever sport, because it's not just people in the NFL, right? But a lot of people are under the misconception that the NFL is like actively like, oh, Mr. Haygood, you're experiencing some signs of post-concussion syndrome or traumatic brain injury. Here, we have therapy, we have this, we have that. Let us get you some, let's pay for it, as a matter of fact. Let's get you here, fly you there, and take care of you, brother. No, they ain't none of that. They gave you the 988 crisis line, right? The National Suicide Hotline. Not even a special line for these guys to call. It's the National Suicide Hotline. Jay used to be like, when he was having an episode, he'd be up on the phone in the room, and I was like, man, like, who are you talking about? I had to call with my therapist. It'd be like midnight. I'm like, what? I was like, wow, the NFL gave him a personal therapist that he can call 24/7. This person picks up the phone 24/7. This is personal therapist. And then one day I realized he finally told me, Staci, I don't have a psychologist that I'm talking to or a psychiatrist. It's the crisis hotline. I was like, what? This is like over a year of this. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me right now? Like, you're calling the crisis hotline. I'm up here thinking the NFL has some kind of hotline that you're calling to get help. And it absolutely is not it. Okay? Nothing. And think about it. If your neighbor was suing you for a tree that fell in their yard, would you be like, oh yeah, I did that, the tree, let me come help the tree, let me fix it, let me do whatever, and pay you some money for that on top of it. I'm gonna fix that damage that was done to your yard because of that tree, and I'm gonna give you some money in your pocket. No. And they were gonna be like, take me to court, sue me, and I'm gonna defend myself, and I ain't doing nothing because it ain't my fault. And that's what the NFL does. The NFL is there, there's lawsuits for a reason. And like I said on my post the other day, there are so many people, I forget what the percentage is of people who've actually got paid out for these lawsuits. And it's not everybody who was in the NFL. There's a statute of limitations. These people who played in the 80s are not getting any money, right, Jay? I think it's what year? I don't even know what year.
1994.
1994 and beyond is where they're getting stuff. You're looking at these guys who have forums online or talking about things online. These guys aren't getting anything.
Don't take my word for it. It's either
it might be 2004.
94, 98.
I think it's 98 one time.
97, because remember, that's when I first started. Remember, that's what the guy said.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 97.
Okay. So what the NFL is doing is waiting for these guys to die off. Plain and simple.
Don't say that.
That's true. No, I've already said it. They're waiting for them to die so they don't have to pay them. So you string out a lawsuit as long as you can. That's why lawsuits take years and years and years and years. And they deny it. And then you have to go and get all these records. And then they deny it again. It's a whole expected course of denials before they're going to pay anything. Okay? Because they don't want to have to pay it. With all the billions and billions of dollars that they have, they don't want to have to pay it. So when one dies, there's a lawsuit out the window, right? Because nobody's going to get anything. Their spouse is not going to get anything. Their family, who's now left without this person who might have been bringing in the income, now they have nothing, right? So there's that. So no, there's a big NO. There's a negative. It's on a scale of 1 to 10. The NFL does -5 to help with any of this that I have seen, and you have places like the Concussion Legacy Foundation you can reach out to, okay? I don't care if it's a child. I don't care if it's you. I don't care if you're a woman. I don't care if you're a little girl playing soccer. If you have problems of any of these kind of problems that are out of your normal behavior, you can call and you can get help. You can have somebody to talk to for free. You can have support groups for free. You can get referrals and fill out the form on their website, and somebody is going to email you back personally. Hi, Staci. Thanks for reaching out to us about so-and-so. You were inquiring about this in Raleigh. Here's what we have in Raleigh. We don't have any specialists for this, but we have that. Let us know if we can help more, right? They will connect you. There's peer-to-peer support groups on there. So like Jay, and I've encouraged him to join this peer-to-peer support group so that he can talk to other people living with this, right? But he knows plenty of people living with it. Trust me. Plenty. But there's also some of you are watching. Okay? And you can connect with somebody who is living with this as well, right? And if you are a caregiver of someone, you can connect with somebody and get on these support calls as well. There's also the Boston University CTE Center. There are CTE centers, like Duke has a concussion center, right? But there's a CTE center at Boston University. They are the ones leading the way with the medical research. And we actually were supposed to be in Boston this week.
Yeah.
We had the trip planned to be in Boston this week. Jay qualified for all 3 of the studies. They had 3 studies. I reached out to them about one, and they told us about the other ones, and they got back. He's like, oh, he actually qualifies for every study we have. And so we were supposed to be up there this week for that study, but I ended up having to cancel it with everything that went on because I didn't know what tomorrow was going to bring, right? So we canceled that, and we will reschedule it because they're doing research right now where they're hoping there's a test that they're looking at that traces, it's called tau, T-A-U protein in the brain, that if they can trace that protein in the brain, detect it, they can actually detect CTE in living individuals. So he's going to be a part of that study that was hopefully going to find a way to detect it in living people. So there's also Lee Steinberg has a organization, the Lee Steinberg Foundation. His last name is Steinberg. He's actually Patrick Mahomes' agent. And he started a foundation that looks at concussion, TBI, and brain health. So at the Super Bowl, he has a big Super Bowl party every year, but he also had a brain summit where he had panelists who were doctors and players up there talking about brain injury. And I'm going to be actually connecting with him soon. Jay and I are going to connect with him to have a conversation and see how we can support and help this cause. Because one thing about what we're doing, and this is why I did it, besides the fact that Jay posted what he posted online, God was like, it's time for the testimony, right? The testimony is not always when you come out of it and then you go, here we are, and let us tell you what happened the past 6 months and how, how this illness almost destroyed our marriage. And you guys be like, what? They were just out there water surfing. Like, what's going on? We didn't even know, right? No, I don't need the shock and awe value of that. We want to be the ones who tell the story while Jay is still here. Whether he's 79 years old when he dies 120. We want to tell the story as it goes because nobody else is out there that I've seen who is literally talking about suspected CTE while they're living it, while they're in their right mind. And like I told him, as much as you actually are in your right mind, I have no idea anymore. But this level of he's in his right mind, all right?
I'm not right mind.
Like whatever mind is left there, this is where we going to start, all right? So it's like to actually have people talking about it who are living it day to day, who people... To see us on social media on any given day, you don't have any idea what kind of hell may have been happening in this house 2 days earlier, right? You have no idea of what was going on in here. And it's not that we're faking. It's not like we're putting, it's not that we're putting on a front or faking. It's how we move from day to day. It's how forgiveness happens and how me living with somebody who has a brain injury, how do we continue to function where I'm not all the time treating him like he has a brain injury or I'm trying to get over it because he doesn't even know what happened. And it got to the point where now I'm like, and I had to say, you got to give me time. Like it used to be, I could just be like, all right, we're good. Forget about it. Let's go shopping. Let's go eat. Now it's like, dude, I need you to give me some time. Like, I can't tell you how much time, but I need you to you can be in the room, be in my space, but don't be in my face. Don't touch me. I need you to give me some time. I need to recuperate. I'm like shell shocked right now. I'm traumatized. And that's the way it was when he came home. I was like, I need some time. We're still working on that because it has just been, both of us are so physically and mentally and just spiritually exhausted. And I say spiritually exhausted, I don't mean our faith is wavering. I just mean it was a spiritual satanic attack that was going on with us, with this thing. Satan using an illness to try to destroy us and tear us apart, right? And destroy our witness. Because like if this would have just fell apart all of a sudden and I'm like, I had to leave, if Jay got whatever, blah, 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 you'd be like, well, dang. Right? You don't even know, like what? She didn't even try to stick by him, help him or nothing, right? And it's like, no, because I see the tactics and the plan of the enemy. I see it clearly. And even though I see it, you get weak you still get weak. And if we didn't get weak, then we wouldn't need God, right? That just increases my dependence on God, knowing that it's only him that is going to see us through this, period. And so we show up as our true selves. What you see online, anything that we post, it's our true selves. We're not fake. Neither one of us are fake individuals. But this was something that needed to be shared for the transparency of it, so people understand that what we're dealing with, and that whatever you're dealing with in your life as well. I don't know what to tell you if you're not a Christian. Because my hope comes from God. Like if I didn't believe in God, I don't know how I would have gotten through this. If Jay was not a man of God, I don't know how he would have gotten through it. I don't know how we would have gotten through it if God was not first and foremost in our life. So if you're not a Christian, first of all, I encourage you to reach out to somebody. Reach out to me if you want to know more about God. Hopefully our story and our testimony gives you something to start questioning, right? And maybe thinking, wow, who is this God they're speaking of? Who is this Jesus Christ they're speaking of that their hope is in, that can get them through something like this, right? It wasn't us. It wasn't me. It wasn't my strength as a woman and the things that I've been through already in life. God knew, like the Bible says, he will not put any more on you than you can handle with his help. People always leave that part out. God won't put nothing on you that you can't handle. No, it's God won't put anything on you any more than what you can handle with his help. It's only with his help. Mm-hmm. Not through our own strength, not something that I did, not something I said, not something, whatever I done named and claimed what I'm going to do, and I didn't say whatever. No, it was nothing but God, because I was weak and I could not see the light. I didn't know what tomorrow was going to hold, but I knew whatever it was. And that's why I said at one point, whether he comes back in this house or not, I know God's going to carry me through this thing. But the minute I said that, God was like, yeah, but no, there is not whether he's going to come back. He's going to come back because I put you two together for a reason. And you knew that from the beginning of your relationship. That we knew from the beginning of our relationship, God brought us together. Because we both prayed. We stayed by ourselves and celibate for a period of time before we even met each other, and cut off all that nonsense we were doing, all the nonsense people we were dealing with. And we sat alone and said, God, this is what I want. I know you know my heart. I desire to be married. And not just this is what I want, like this is like build a man, build a bear or something, and build a wife. It was like, God, you know what I need, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, he got to be more than 6 feet tall. He got to be chocolate. He need to have nice hair. You know what I'm saying? I need him to. No, it wasn't none of that. It was, even though he did kind of say what he wanted. He did say he wanted, what'd you say? A woman with natural hair, light eyes, and something else, tall and caramel skin. That's what he prayed for. You can pray your specific prayers now. There ain't nothing wrong with praying a specific prayer. And God, I didn't have to say it, because God knew I wanted tall, dark, and handsome. He already knew. That was it. I didn't have to say it. He already knew. He knows the desire of your heart. Nothing wrong with speaking it too, though, right? And so God brought us together from the beginning. So I was just like, ain't no way that God brought us together for this to fall apart. I said, there ain't no way. That's not even in the cards. Like, that's not even I can't even imagine that. Like, there's no way. And so he showed up and he showed out. God did. And he said, no, there is no way. And this is what you're going to do. Right? I had people like, you don't need to be talking about that. 3 people. 3 people. And one person didn't even realize, I don't think, that she said, I know she didn't mean it like that, because she is a beautiful person. And I know she didn't mean it that way. About, like sharing on Facebook. And then I made a comment to her and we just moved on from there. The other person, I don't even know her. He knows her, I don't know her. And I had to, put that one in check and let her know that her opinion could go right back into the darkness. So God's truth is going to show in the light. I don't care about your little opinion. I ain't asked for it. Little 1950s mindset. Y'all can't have that little 1950s mindset of it's between you and your husband. Keep that in your house. That ain't nobody's business but your own. What does that do? It gets you yellow police tape around your house. That's what that gets you, okay? That gets your family outside crying. That gets your neighbors talking about
exactly.
It get your neighbors up there talking about, we didn't even know he was such a nice guy. He was so quiet. And Staci was always out there in her garden. And I know she was doing DIY in her house. And she would be cooking and doing whatever. And she just did it. They were just a wonderful couple. That's what that gets you. A police tape around your house. Being quiet and keeping it to yourself. There's no need to suffer in silence. I don't care who you are. I've had people reach out to me who are in the public eye in big ways, telling me about what's going on in their life and how their marriage of 20 years, 30 years fell apart, how they were in an extremely abusive relationship. The shame and the fear of letting people know what is going on in your life when we are all human. We are all fallible. We all suffer, and you suffer even more. Like, that's why I can't even imagine what I was thinking about. I was like, dang, I ain't no doggone Kardashian. Like, people coming at me like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, I can't imagine being famous, and everybody with their opinions, right? You going through something and they go, what's that zit on her face? Why don't she take care of that? She got all that money. Ain't nobody on here talking about a zit. They want to tear down your appearance, right? Why she dye her hair? She should have went back to so-and-so. She looked crazy. Look at him. He looked like whatever, blah, blah, blah. And you on here pouring your heart out. They start tearing you apart, digging, insulting, joking your situation. Girl, why don't you just buy something? Why don't you just pay for so-and-so? Why don't they just get a therapist? All that money, they could just get blah, 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 right? I can't even imagine what people who are seriously in the public eye, the pressure they have to deal with, right? They can't even step out their house without somebody looking. Did you see her shoe? Ain't she got no money? Everything is being picked apart, right? Thank the Lord, I've never cared about what people thought about me. I've said that for so many years. People don't understand. Like, I can care less what you got to say about me and what you think about me as a person, especially if you don't know me, right? If you don't know me, then that's just your loss, number one. And number two, that just means you're the kind of person who would judge somebody in a situation without actually knowing them or knowing the situation, right? But one thing I've always known since I was a child, when I saw rich people on TV, famous people, I always had this feeling, I don't really know who they are, though. Like, I can't really say that's a nice person. I like them as an actor, but I don't know who they are. Like, they might be a jerk in real life. Like, yeah, one of my favorite actors is Denzel, right? Denzel might be a jerk in real life. I don't think he is, because, you know, what we've seen, Jay says he's not, so, you know, I'll take his word for it, right? He doesn't have that kind of spirit. But we look at people and we think they got it all together, their life is together because they got all this doggone money. And I can tell you from my experience, from having been a person, a female who had a child at 17 years old, 3 days after I graduated from high school, went to nursing school 8.5 months later, became a nurse, was on welfare while I was in nursing school, who used to have I remember when my rent was $545 when I moved to North Carolina. And I remember what I used to tithe in church, right? And then I remember a time came where I was tithing what used to be my rent. And I'd gotten to this point where it was like, I can buy whatever I want. For me, I'm not rich. Again, I'm not a Kardashian, right? But anything Staci wanted, I could get. And you know what it didn't give me? It didn't give me peace. It didn't give me happiness. It gave me temporary happiness. It didn't give me joy. The only thing that can give you joy is Jesus Christ. Because joy is not based on your circumstances. Joy is a continuous undercurrent that flows through you regardless of what you're going through. That's what joy is. Happiness ebbs and flows, right? You get happy when you go on a shopping spree. I got 4 new pairs of Adidas the other day to add to my little Adidas collection. I was happy. I came and sat them on the shelf. I walked away. I wasn't downstairs like, ooh, Adidas, can't wait to wear my Adidas. Woke up the next morning, my Adidas, right? No, I stuck them on the shelf and walked away, right? But I still got that undercurrent of joy that comes from my relationship with Christ, my hope, my eternal hope, and the peace, and the fact that I know he is with me and he walks with me and he talks with me, right? And I know that I am his own, right? So it's not about the things you have in life. It's not about what you acquire in life and what you build in life. You can't take none of that with you. You have to really look at your situation. If you got anything, I don't care what it is. If you suffer from a depression, I've been there. I've had situational depression. I've had long-term depression. Anxiety, got it. Jay has it. Got all that. Okay? It runs in my family, right? I was suicidal as a child. So when you got any of these things going on, now that you know better, do better. I didn't know better when I was a child. I didn't know anything about therapy, especially coming from a black family. We didn't do that. You didn't do that. Like, we went to the dentist all the time. We went to the doctor, and I had glasses. Like, all the medical stuff, yes. When you talk about some therapy, nah. Your therapy is I'm going to whoop you behind and put you on punishment. That was the therapy we got, right? So, and I know a lot of white folks, too, because when I moved to the South, boy, and started seeing how they was whooping on their kids down here, and then making some collard greens and neck bones and ham hocks, I was like, okay. I was like, these white people down here in the South is different when I moved down here like almost 30 years ago. And so it's not even a color thing, right? It's the fact that if you need help, seek help, okay? If you're a caregiver, you're burnt out, you're suffering in silence, get help. Talk to somebody. Reach out and talk to me. Send me a message. I'm telling you, I will not probably pick up the phone. Very few people I'm going to pick up the phone for, because I do not like talking on the phone. It just makes me feel like I'm trapped in a corner and being tormented. And so I don't like talking on the phone, but I will answer your text messages. I will answer your messages on social media. And I then may decide, yep, go ahead and call me, right? And I'll make myself available, like, mentally, to be able to talk to you. And then we may be on the phone for 2 hours. So reach out to somebody. Don't be afraid to reach out and say, Staci, I need help. I'm dealing with this. Or Jay, I feel like, man, I might have that problem. Or my husband might not, or my daughter or my wife might have that problem. She played soccer. Right? What do I do? Will your wife talk to her? If you want me to talk to your spouse who may be a caregiver, if you want me to talk to your wife who may be dealing with this stuff, reach out to us, because that's what sharing your testimony is about. That's the trial that we're going through. That's why we went through this trial, to be able to help, not only to be able to build and strengthen our marriage and show and increase our reliance and dependency on God and our faith, but also to be able to use it as a testimony to help other people. So that's really all I had to say. And I just wanted to know if anybody has any questions or anything, feel free to type it into the chat. If there's anybody who wants to come online, I know I had this set for like an hour and a half, but if there's anybody who wants to come online, come on camera, I'll bring you on camera. If you want to share anything, we got Wesley Walker on here, who's a New York Jets legend. A good friend of ours, and Jets. Wonderful man that we see and met out there. And you probably already knew him, but I met him out there at the celebrity event we go to in Wyoming every year. And then I think Ty, if Ty is still on here, he was once the world's fastest man, track star. He also was in the NFL for a while, so Jay knows him from your time with the Chargers. So
yeah, we were roommates.
Tyree is another person who Tyree talks about mental health on his platforms and stuff like that, and speaks to the youth as well. So and then him, who's that? Isn't he a former player? And then Ace, we got Ace on there.
Oh, Ace, oh, Big Ace.
Yeah, he's one of the coaches at Virginia Tech basketball.
Go Hokies.
And so
Big Ace, what's happening, brother? What's poppin', homie?
Yeah, got my girl Rudy, my little BFF on there. My little Ruth Ann Palumbo on there. My girl. Ruth Ann. And Ruth Ann, Ruth Ann has some, in her history. And there's another thing. If it's addiction, anything like that, she lost her daughter to that. A beautiful young lady. Who and Ruth Ann's got her doctorate in nursing, and when we talk about these struggles that we go through behind the scenes, whether it's somebody in your family struggling with addiction, whatever, right? It takes a toll on the family, and it doesn't always end well. And what we want to do is shine a light on it so that people who need help can get help, so that your story does not have that not well ending when it could have had a different ending. That's what it's all about. Change your ending. Right? You might not, you sure can't go back and change your beginning. We can't go back and do a doggone thing different that we even did earlier today. You can't go back and change nothing, but you can do something to affect your future and to make a change and a difference. So, mental health matters. And this is, by the way, CTE Awareness Month, believe it or not. How ironic. I saw that online and I was like, am I being punked? Like, how does that happen, right? CTE Awareness Month. Just think about it. Anything. This again is not just about CTE. It's about any kind of chronic illness, whether you have a loved one suffering with cancer, whatever, you're a caregiver, the burnout, the effect on you. But the difference with TBI, with brain injuries, is that it's that person, it's not just me caring for him, it's also me dealing with the effects of it that are directed towards me, like we talked about, right? That I have to have self-care and know when to walk away. And, my favorite Kenny Rogers song, know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, know when to run. I had to run.
And guys, you all suffering with the TBIs, the brain injuries, go get help for real, man. Because I was on the ledge, brother. You know what I'm saying? And
I was ready to push it. And
you don't want to be on that ledge to where it's no return. So if you even if you by yourself, go check yourself in. Go see a neuropsych. That's all you have to do is go see a neuropsych, and he'll tell you if you're crazy instant. Especially one I went to, he already knew I was crazy. So, and you can't charm him either. You can go in there if you want to and think you're gonna charm that man. That man been doing this thing for 40 years. So understand, when you get help, you'll be not only helping yourself, but your family as well. You know what I'm saying? I try to keep it hidden from everybody. Not tell anybody, just go through the protocol, stuff like that. Slide on through the cracks, but see, sliding on through the cracks almost made my marriage slide through too. Through big cracks. So the greatest thing is that my wife standing up to me saying, go get help yourself. Because if you get the help yourself, it's going to mean more to you when you ain't got nobody to call. You got to go to the little therapy classes. You ain't got to go, but if you're trying to get better, like a friend of mine told me, like Cornelius White told me, he said, if you love that woman like you said you did, just the same way you told me about my current wife, you would go jump into 5 different facilities to show her how much you love her. You got to one, go to another. Get out of that one, go to, he said, that's how you show somebody you love her. So for them to have me balanced out, people, I want to tell everybody, thank you so much. You never know how much you mean to people until you may not be here. You know what I'm saying? So I want to thank everybody on both ends, for me, for my wife, for all the concerns, because we do have a good time. I ain't gonna lie, this is my best friend. Like, we kick it together. This is who I tell all my secrets to, and this is what my first phone call to. So this is my best friend, not only my wife, you know what I'm saying? So therefore understand, getting yourself better is not only gonna help you, it's gonna help your marriage, it's gonna help, you know what I'm saying, your situation with your kids, and even with family members you had to cut off because of your actions, because you're thinking it's their actions. I blamed everything on everybody else. But really, to be honest, you know whose fault it was? It was mine. Mine for so long for not even getting the help that I needed. But I'm glad it's just in time so I can walk one of my daughters down the aisle next month. So that's the thing. That's how I know God is good, because he made sure that this was correct before I had to walk my daughter down the aisle.
Yeah, because like even that was like kind of in question, like, oh crap, like I'm gonna have to ask one of my brothers to step in, and it's just, and reaching out to her, like, you good with him still, you're okay, he's still gonna walk in that aisle, and she's like, yeah, because they love him, these are the daughters I had before I met him, but he's the male figure in their life, like he is the only like first consistent male role model in their life worth anything. So a good man to me and my children. I'm grateful for him.
I want to present you with that. I made that in there for you.
Oh, Jay made me a little something in the
crazy house.
In the nut house, y'all. In the crazy house. See, and then we joke about it. Like it's like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, who does that? This is beautiful. Yeah, thank you, honey.
You're welcome.
I love that. I'll use that as a bookmark in my Bible.
Okay, nice.
And I to hear a man talk, I know this is powerful for a lot of you men, knowing him or whether you know him or not. This is powerful because too many men suffer in silence and will not get help because they think it makes them look weak, and it does not. It takes a strong man to realize he needs help. It's strength. You know, the definition of humility, even in the Bible, people think about, well, then they say humble yourself, and they're like, I ain't bowing down to nobody. It's not about that. It's about, it takes a strong person to restrain them, you know, to restrain themselves, to hold back, to be patient, to be transparent. You know, even Paul in the Bible, what was he always saying? He always talks about the person that he was before he became the person that he is, right? He reminds them, I was a persecutor of Christians. I was this, I was that, right? But this is who I am now, bond servant of Christ. Because you need to show your dependence on Christ if you're a Christian, period. I don't care, man, woman, child, how strong you are. We are dependent on Christ, period.
Amen.
And as a man, you need to humble yourself before God and just say, God, I need help. What do I need to do? And then you need to do it. Because doing that, you're going to set examples for other people who need help, right? They're not going to look at you and be like, man, he's a punk. Jay shouldn't have went and done that. He's a punk. Nah, they're like, no, man, I got problems. Wow, this brother could step up and get some help, you know what I'm saying, and realize it. Then that's what I need to do. So we just want to encourage you guys, be strong and of good courage, right? In the Lord. That's where that comes from. Strong and of good courage. And we're going to end this with I have a couple little scriptures I want to read here, and Jay may have one himself. A couple things that I've been reading over the past couple days when all this was going on. Psalm 16, verses 7 through 11 says, I will bless the Lord who has given me counsel. My heart also instructs me in the night seasons. I have set the Lord always before me, because he is at my right hand, and I shall not be moved. Therefore my heart is glad, and my glory rejoices. My flesh will also rest in hope, for you will not leave my soul in Sheol, which is like hell, basically. Nor will you allow your Holy One to see corruption. You will show me the path of life. In your presence is fullness of joy. At your right hand are pleasures forevermore. And then Psalm 20 verses 6 through 9 says, Now I know that the Lord saves his anointed. He will answer him from his holy heaven with the saving strength of his right hand. Some trust in chariots and some in horses. But we will remember the name of the Lord our God. They have bowed down and fallen, but we have risen and stand upright. Save, Lord. May the King answer us when we call. When you call on God, he answers. He may not say yes. He may not say no. He may say wait. Right? He may say sit still. Be still and know that I am God. Stand there and be quiet. Sit there and be quiet and watch God work. That's what I had to do this past week. I had to realize it was not for me to do. It was not in my hands. There were things that I needed to do, but there were things he needed to do and things we needed God to do that we could not do for ourselves. And God showed up and did that. Did you have something you wanted to read?
Yeah, I'm going to read Psalm 69 where it says a cry for help when it says to the chief musician upon, how you say that word? Shoshanim.
Shoshanim, something.
Yeah. Psalm of David. Save me, O God, for the water come in unto my soul. I sink in deep mire, where there is no standing. I am coming to deep waters where the floods overflow me. I am weary of my crying. My throat is dry. My eyes fail while I wait for God. They that hate me without a cause are more than the hairs of mine head. They that would destroy me, being mine enemies wrongfully, are mighty. Then I restore that which I took not away. And then this last part. O God, knowest my foolishness, and my sins are not hid from thee. Let not them that wait on thee, O Lord, God of hosts, be ashamed for my sake. Let not those that seek thee be confounded for my sake, God of Israel.
Amen. That I love that. Save me, O God, for the waters are come into my soul. I sink in deep mire where there is no standing. I am come into deep waters where the floods overflow me. Isn't that, I mean, I'm weary of my crying. My throat is dried. My eyes fail while I wait for my God. That's how we feel when we're going through something, right? Like you just feel like you're sinking, like you're drowning, like you don't even have any more tears to cry. You're just tired of crying, right? That's when you have to just fully depend on God. And for those who, I wanted to say one more thing for those who don't know what to do in times like this, right? When you see somebody going through, I had mentioned to some of our leadership at church that, when people are sick, they have surgery, we show up, right? We show up and we visit them. We have meal trains, we bring them food. But when somebody is suffering from a mental health crisis, it's hands off. Everybody's afraid, right? They don't know what to do. They don't know what to say. Sometimes it's a legitimate fear. I'm not going over there. He's crazy, right? Or she's crazy. They might jump on me.
Cortland and Corny came through in media.
And Jerry came and took you to the hospital and everything.
Jerry,
but if there's ways to show up for a person, right? For the type of person I am, people know. Don't ask me if I come online and I'm saying all this stuff is going on. You just need to roll up. You can literally just roll up, knock on my front door, and I'm going to open the door. You call me, I'm probably not going to answer. You text me and say, Staci, I'm sitting outside. Come talk to me. I'm not comfortable coming in the house, but come talk to me. I'm going to come talk to you. Staci, let's go for coffee, right? With Jay, he needed somebody to come sit with him sometimes. He needed somebody just to be there and listen to him rant and rave and ramble on about whatever it was eating
Jerry.
Away at his mind, right? Jerry did that.
My man Jerry.
Right? When people are going through things, sometimes you just need to show up. You need to show up in ways that you would want somebody to show up for you. Right? Don't be afraid. And like one of my church members came, Miss Marlene, who came over here, she's like, if you're scared, bring somebody with you. Right? Go get 2 more brothers to bring with you, 2 more sisters to bring with you. Mm-hmm. Right? And go see about people. Because I'm telling you, in the old days, the old church, in the 60s and the 70s, something like this would have been happening. There'd have been 10 men from the church at the front door. What's going on over here, Sister Staci? They'd have been like, come on, Brother Jay. You getting up out of here. Even they don't know what's happening. Nah, brother, you going to get up out of here today. Yeah. You coming? No, you ain't staying here. You going to give her some peace. You going to leave her alone. You going for the night. Pack a bag, bro.
Yeah, pack a bag.
Like, that's it, right? Sometimes you just need to figure out how to be there. Don't be afraid to, number one, don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to receive help, because there were times that I said no, that I had to turn right back around and say, yes, please come pray with me. Yes, please do this. Please do that. Right? I had to let people help me. You got to let people help you sometimes. I ain't saying accept every single offer, because you can get overwhelmed and exhausted from that, right? And not be able to find any peace for your own self. Let God lead you in that. And when you need to say yes, don't just automatically say no because of your own pride. Sometimes I'm too prideful to let somebody help me. So don't be so prideful you don't let somebody help you. And don't be so prideful that you don't seek help. And those of you who don't know what to do, think about the person it is that needs help, and think about what it is that you think that person needs. And then don't just say, hey, let me know if you need something. Say, hey, sis, can I bring you a meal? Do you want to meet for coffee? Do you want me to just come and talk? Do you want me to come pray with you? Do you want me to bring you a coffee? Do you want to sit on the front porch? Do you want to go for a walk in the park? Right? Tangible things that you can do to help somebody. Because I know if one of my sisters call me, that's anywhere within distance I can get to, I'm coming. Let somebody tell me, get online talking about this and that, and she running out of house. I'm like, Jay, get your little weapons that you got stashed. And get mine. And we about to roll up. I ain't coming over there necessarily to do no violence, but I'm coming prepared because I don't know what I'm walking into, and I'm coming to help you, right? Just like Corny and Caitlin did and showed up that night for me. And just like next thing I see a text, oh, Corny's on his way over there. I'm like, they live like 40 minutes away. Next thing I know, him and his wife is at my door. And these are people, somebody he knew. These were like, I met them through him.
Go Hokies.
Right? So we're going to end it. It's been an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes now. I need my glass of wine. I need to sit and have my little Candy Crush and have my little glass of Merlot. Okay?
And I'm going to have a glass of water.
His water and his Coca-Cola. All right?
Coke.
It's time for our little relaxation this evening. I greatly appreciate you guys joining this. God bless you all. And I'm telling you, don't be afraid to reach out. Text me, call me if you have my number. Like I said, I probably won't answer, but leave a message. Send me an inbox if you don't have my number. You want me to pray for you, I will pray for you. And I'm not one to be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna pray for you right then and there when you ask me to pray for you. It's another thing you need to do. Don't send thoughts and prayers. Okay? Pray. Like I literally just said a prayer for you, Staci. Like so many people did that sent me messages. My husband and I prayed for you tonight. My husband and I are praying for you. We have sent prayers up for you, not, oh girl, you in my prayer. You know, you can say that and mean it because you did pray, but typically we just send these random virtual thoughts and prayers and we don't do anything about it. Like my pastor said a long time ago, somebody preaching in our church said, when you talking about, I'm going to pray for you, why not stop right then and there and pray? When you see somebody face to face and they tell you they're going through, girl, you know what, Jay, I'm going to pray for y'all. No, pray for Jay right now. Touch him and pray for him right now, right? That's what we need to do as Christians. And, God bless you all. Thank you for the support, the encouragement. We're grateful for anybody that's helped because if it only helped one person, it's worth it. It's worth it. I don't care if it just helped one person. I already know it's helped more. And I'm so grateful and thankful and humbled by that because this wasn't just for us. This was a trial that we needed to go through because God's glory was going to shine through it. His power was going to shine through it. And it's helped my witness and my testimony. And don't forget, I'm still sending these Bibles out for free.
Amazing.
Okay.
Amazing. I'm telling you, that's the best Bible.
You love this Bible. I bought it first for Jay, and then I got jealous because I was looking at it. I'm like, what? Kept picking it up. Because he was like, I want that other Charles Stanley Bible. And I bought it and gave it to him. He's all happy. And then I was like, wait a minute. I don't have that. Well, I could just read his. I don't want to read him, so I bought my own. Next thing you know, I start posting, stuff from it, and then people are like, what's that Bible? And so now I'm sending out 4 of these Bibles a month for free to anybody who wants it. I don't care if you are a Kardashian. I like the Kardashians. I do like them. They're funny. I don't care if Kim Kardashian inboxes me and says, I would like a Bible. I'm going to send it to her for free. I don't care who you are. Okay?
4 months.
All right? 4 a month, even though I sent out 5 this month. And I'll probably send out all 20 on the list in March.
Probably all 20.
Because I don't like lists and stuff sitting in front of me. I got to get it all done. But send it. I have a list already into. This is February. I already did February, March. I have a list into mid-April already of people to send them out to. So you want a Bible? It's a daily Bible. This is wonderful Bible. If you want it, just inbox me and send me your address. No questions asked, and I'm gonna put you on the list and send you one. All right. Well, God bless you. We are going to end in prayer, and maybe we'll do this again sometime. We'll just
will.
let us know what you guys think about that.
Yeah.
And talk about a whole bunch.